Hey guys, welcome back. This is Luke from Guild Dark Apoc. In this video, we're going to touch base on the DPS Esper. We're going to go over our stat priorities, runes, suggested runes, and we're going to talk about builds. I'm going to go over two of them, although I'm not really spec'd right now for the second one. I might just do the second one later, out of game or something, because it costs way too much to respec. Uh, but anyway, a little update with me. I am in the process of on the rune step where you're killing the raid attunement rune step. Why am I talking about fucking runes? Anyway, I'm on the step where you're killing world bosses right now, and I've killed one so far. But I finally got all the vet dungeons down, so that's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, so one thing I'm going to do for all you YouTube users out there is I'm going to start doing annotations at the bottom of the screen to kind of, since the videos I realize are very long, I kind of want to allow you guys to say, well, if all I'm really wanting to find about the DPS Esper is the stat priority, then okay, I can click here and just go see it. You know what I mean? I don't have to listen to this dude talk for hours. So anyway, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. So let's dive right in. Get your beer, your tea, whatever you drink. Get your smoke on if you need to, and let's learn something together. So anyway, alright, so stat priorities. We're going to talk about primary first, go into secondary, then we're going to talk about maybe some stat thresholds. I noticed where my DPS went up. Okay, so first primary stat is always going to be Moxie, because it gives you assault power. Second stat priority is going to be Finesse, because it gives you crit hit rating and crit hit severity. Both very nice things. The next stat priority would be Strike Through. Excuse me, Brutality, which gives you Strike Through and critical severity rating. The next one is going to be Grit, because it gives you base health, and having base health allows you to live a little longer if you get hit on something, like a telegraph or whatnot, which is always good. Alright, so secondary stats will always be, first and foremost, would always be assault power, followed by crit hit chance, crit hit severity, strike through chance. Alright, so having said all that, some thresholds that really make DPSing with the Esper a lot easier, and you see better results. Are, without talking about assault power, because it's kind of hard to see that, it's sort of linear. If you can think of the damage that you do, the more assault power you do, obviously the more damage your spells are going to do. Okay, but strike through, when I got around 6%, okay, I noticed that a lot of my abilities stopped deflecting, and I noticed this from the logs that I was doing, the parses that I was doing. I tested in several veteran dungeons, and it seemed like I was very rarely, I mean, we're talking like 1 or 2 times in a run that was 75 minutes to 70 minutes long, of veteran dungeons, that I deflected like twice, maybe. You know what I mean? So having around 6% strike through is sufficient enough. If you're not there, I've seen other espers do quite well, around 5.5, but that's really, in my opinion, pushing it. Because say for example that I land a finisher. Okay, for those of you who have never played a Esper before in your life, and it gets deflected, that's a lot of damage that you spend a lot of time building side points for, that deflected, and that's just bad. Don't want to see that happen ever. It makes you cry, seriously. So anyway, The next stat threshold, when I first hit 50 a while back, and I started into adventures, I had right around, I want to say, on the crit hit chance, 20%, you know? And I was doing okay DPS. I was doing decent. Uh, but now that my crit's gone up, and especially if you're in a group with a medic now, OP-ness, I call them, just OP. Uh, they have an aura that gives you 6% more crit hit. Everyone who stays kind of around them. So 28, excuse me, yeah, 28% crit hit chance is a shit ton. And so that's pretty sweet. But where I'm at right now, I've seen a lot of ESPERs have higher than I do, and that's okay. You'll see later when we talk about amps that having a lot of crit hit chance procs one of those amps that give you Moxie. So that's kind of a big deal to have crit hit chance second in our stat priority for a reason. Okay, so we can keep that amp active. But you know, a threshold would probably be around 22%. Would be okay. The more, the merrier. That's what I'm trying to say. Crit hit severity, it's, you know, decent. But I've seen a lot of theory crafters talk about you know, the different builds and whatnot. And crit hit severity, if you have a lot of it, it doesn't really show up a whole lot as far as damage, or it doesn't equate to a lot of damage. Not as much as assault power would do, or crit hit chance would do. Now, I don't have those figures in front of me. If I find the forum link, I will certainly link that to you guys if you're interested in looking at that and making sure I'm not, you know, completely retarded and don't know what I'm talking about. And it's okay if you think that anyway. But moving on. So in summary, primary stats: Moxie, Finesse, Brutality, Grit. Secondary: Assault Power. Son of a bitch, I fucking DC'd. Okay, hold on, guys. Yeah, it's I blame it on midgets and, you know, that really heavy rock music that caused me to DC. So I apologize for that, guys. We're gonna try again on this. So and just so you know, I didn't do this like plushie in the background that's like screwing the other plushie. That was one of my other guildmates that did that, and I just left it because it just makes me laugh every time I come into my housing. So yeah. Anyway, so primary stats, in summary, are now I'm laughing my ass off. Moxie first, Finesse second, Brutality third, Grit last. Secondary, I'm still laughing about that. Assault Power first and foremost, Crit Hit Chance second, Crit Hit Severity third, Strike Through fourth. Okay, so that basically covers what I wanted to talk about with the stat priorities. Next, we're going to talk about runes, okay? For those of you who have played like World of Warcraft and I can't remember if Terra had it, but I know Swartor had some sort of rune system where there were like slots on your gear that basically equate to stat increases. So, sorry, get a drink of something. Alright, so okay, rune slots. Basically, you have rune slots on each piece of your gear, and then you have something called rune sets that offer bonuses. Okay, And as you can see, I have Spellweaver already. These don't stack. But basically you make the rune, you slot the rune, and you get, if it's a Spellweaver general set rune, it adds to my 12, if that makes sense. So if I have 12 of those runes on my gear, then therefore I have 12 of 12 Spellweaver, which is increases the magic damage dealt by 2% and grants a 10% chance to apply an expose for 5 seconds when you land a hit. The expose reduces magic resistance by 480, which may not seem like much to a lot of people, but the groups I've ran with like spellslingers in the group, they've even said to me, they're like, "Wow, man, my DPS has gone up, and I didn't change anything. What happened?" That's because you have an Esper running Spellweaver in your group. So those two classes really synergize well in groups, especially if the Spellslinger's running the magic debuff that they can do as well. They will see a lot of damage increase, okay? And help each other out. Both parties. So anyway, I went on a tangent there. Sorry about that. So the rune sets you want to focus on, and I would highly suggest not putting a lot of effort into trying to get these until you have pretty much best in slot gear pre-raid that you believe you're going to get. And the reason for that is it's very expensive to do the general set runes. Whereas if you just do the standard runes that give attributes, they're still expensive, but not as expensive. So there's two rune sets, though, general rune sets that you want to focus on. And that is Spellweaver, first and foremost, followed by Assassin. And basically what Assassin does is it increases your assault power. It does something else I can't remember off the top of my head. But you guys got Google. I mean, you guys can find that shit. But it's Assassin rune set. It's pretty nice as well. So the rune slots you want to see on your gear are things like fusion slots. Air slots are good. Fire slots are excellent as well. Life slots are pretty decent as well. But the life slots give crit hit rating most of the time. Whereas the fusion slots you can slot whatever you want. Which, of course, if you're smart and you watch my video, you'd know to put assault power in. Okay? One little note with the runes too is that you can't make the exact same rune twice and slot it on the same piece of gear. Like in this case, I had to do a assault power fusion one, and then a Moxie fusion. Okay, because I couldn't do two assault power runes. It just won't work. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to cover with the runes and rune slots and the set runes that you kind of want to look out for. So next, we're going to talk about builds really quick. Okay, again, these are my opinions, so, you know, you could take it or leave it. This is just what I've had experience with so far, and I've changed this stuff up, and I will continue to change it up over and over again to try to get the best DPS I can get. So the first ability is Telekinetic Strike. It's basically a line in front of you, like that. Goes up to 30 meters. And it's a casted ability, 1.25 second cast. I took the tier 8 altogether on this ability because if you look at your parse, a lot of times the abilities that do the most overall damage for you are going to be your builders, your primary builder rather, and your finishers, which would be Telekinetic Storm or Mind Burst. Don't ever use Reap. If you use Reap, people will laugh at you, and you just won't have as much fun. It's not good. So But the Tier 4 telekinetic strike ignores 25% of the foe's shield. Okay, it's nice. Um, the Tier 8 grants yourself a psi charge stack. At 6 stacks, you gain an additional psi point. So basically, at 6 stacks of casting this, you get an extra psi point. So instead of getting 1 psi point like you normally would, you get 2. So pretty nice. A little hard to manage sometimes, and see a lot of usage out of it though. To be honest, because unless you have that like aura mastery set up to where this buff on you will show you how many stacks you have, a lot of times you're going to mess up and forget about it. But for you OCD people, not OSD, OCD people will have our mastery set up and have that buff set up, so they'll see the 6 stack and they'll be, oh, well, I'm at 3 psi points. If I cast it again, I'll be at 5. You know, so it can be nice. But basically, that's that ability. The next telekinetic storm is a dot, basically. Is what it is. And it lasts for 7 seconds, and it follows the foe. So in other words, if you have like 5 mobs in front of you, like let's say this plushie back here is 1, this other plushie that's getting owned is 2, and this other one that's just having a good time is 3. If I casted it on this plushie right here, it would hit all 3. It can hit up to 5 foes. So keep in mind that on AoE packs and stuff of, 3, 4, whatever, you can aim it at one and then cast it on the second one. This one will still be ticking and hitting all of them. This one will still be ticking and hit all of them. Okay, so you can see where that can really give you a lot of DPS on those targets. And it's sustained DPS. It's not burst, so a lot of times you will never, ever, unless the tank is just terribly bad, see yourself pull off, okay, those targets. The Tier 4 pierces armor, and it's like it's based off how many psi points that you have. For example, if you casted it on 1 psi point, it would do 10% armor, whereas if you did 5 psi points and casted it, it would do 50% armor. That's basically what that means. So pretty good, pretty nice. The Tier 8, it's the real reason why we take this ability, because it applies to weaken, which basically the deflect chance of the target is reduced by 2% for 5 seconds and stacks 4 times. So 8% deflect chance is reduced on those targets. So what does that mean? That means basically if you're running this in a group that has DPS that's not strike through capped or has a lot of strike through, they will do more damage. Okay, twofold. One, because the armor is pierced by 50% if you have 5 psi points, and 2, because their abilities won't be deflected. Because I like to think of strike through and deflect chance as polar opposites of one another. The more strike through I have, the better. But then if the target has lower deflect chance, my abilities have less of chance to deflect, if that makes sense. So that's that ability. The next ability is Spectral Swarm. It conjures 3 phantoms, which deal 373 magic damage every 1.25 seconds for 10 seconds. And it generates a psi point. So it's another builder. I've avoided this in the past, and a lot of people will switch it out and go to Illusionary Blades, which is fine. The one downside of Spectral Swarm that I didn't like was the global cooldown, which basically means that when you cast it, right, you have like a 1.25 second window where you can't cast Telekinetic Strike. But you can cast like Concentrated Blades or Bolster, because those 2 abilities are off your global cooldown, if that makes sense. And I'll talk a little bit more about that with the rotation / kind of priority I'm going to end with. Uh, but anyway, all you need to know is that this has a global cooldown. And so you might want to be aware that this needs to be used if and only if you have like concentrated blades and bolster charges available to use. Okay. Alright, so right now it's at tier 6. I'd like to get it all the way up to tier 8, but to do that, I would need about 6 more ability points, which is possible through getting more Elder Gems and buying those ability point upgrades. But right now, this is just where I'm at with it. But once I have it, yeah, I'm going to tier 8, definitely. Because the tier 8 on death, the Phantoms deal 1,403 magic damage to 5 nearby foes, which is a huge, well, not a huge, but it is an increase of DPS, okay? Alright, so next ability hasn't changed. If you've watched other videos, I'm not going to really focus on it much. Basically, you pop it, a side blade appears, it charges, and then it hits the target, okay, and generates 1 side point. You start with 2 of those charges, okay, and it's kind of the same deal with the bolster. That hasn't changed any. It restores health. It's a hot. You start with 2 charges, and they generate side points. So nice. It's pretty much that, and concentrated blades are there for side point generation. Okay. Utility, again, you can take what you like. You can do crush. You can do. This is just what I run. Okay. I like to run crush, and I like to run incapacitate. They finally fixed crush a good bit, so it actually works properly, like it should, which is always nice. Used to only hit like the closest target, and not anything else, so that kind of sucked. But it's working properly, supposedly. So I take crush for the interrupt, 1 interrupt armor, and I take incapacitate for a secondary interrupt. Every once in a while, when I'm running dungeons and I'm DPSing, it goes something like this. Hold on. Oh, I messed up. Okay, and the reason I go tier 4 crush is to give myself 2 interrupt armors when I cast it, and then a 3rd one with incapacity. Okay, it's just to get those moves, get more damage off, and get your group to progress quicker through a lot of these time-based veteran dungeons. Okay, I'm gonna move that back though. And kind of the last ability, I like Projected Spirit just to have something that heals me and then moves me, since I'm so damn stationary a lot of the times, out of telegraphs, or reposition myself so I can get closer to the boss, like say the tank's kiting or whatever, the boss around, and I'm casting at the point and I know the cast is not going to hit. I just go ahead and hit Projected Spirit, get a little closer. There's a lot of situations that you can use Projected Spirit. Some other situational abilities that I've switched it out for, though, probably the one I've switched it out for the most is Fade Out, CC Breaker. And every once in a while, Catharsis, to help out the healer with cleanses. Restraint, if there's ads that need to be rooted, go ahead and root them. And even another interrupt, maybe. But the reason I don't like this ability is because if a boss has a cleave, you're dead. Unless you're, not in the frontal area and you're on the side or the back area of the boss. I really don't like to take it. Uh, so, but anyway, that's basically the abilities. Explain the tiers. So now we're going to talk about the amps after I get a drink. All right. So the amps I rolled with, okay. These are Blinding Flash of the Obvious amps. Assault Power to me is, it's just catch 22 here, guys. If you're not taking this amp, uh, somebody's gonna jump out and just slap you, like for real, because Assault Power is the way you increase your overall damage. Okay. Um, Strike Through. Again, it's one of those things that if I take these points here, I don't have to itemize it as much on my gear. Okay? Because that's 3% strike through that I don't have to worry about trying to itemize it on my gear. You know what I mean? So, again, those two I don't see myself ever going away from. Armor Pierce sucks still. And I don't know if it will ever be good. To be perfectly honest, that 6% for 3 points, come on, man, really? If you're taking this, please, remove it before I cry, because you shouldn't have that on there. Points can be used much better elsewhere. Superiority, I don't see myself ever not taking this amp. While above 70% health, you gain in power, which increases your primary stat, Moxie, by 25% of your current maximum. It's pretty nice. This thing used to be at 100%, and let me tell you, I would never take it at 100% health because I'd always get hit and never see any usage of this amp. But when they changed it to 70% health, oh yeah, it's nice. True Sight I don't like taking, and there's a couple reasons why. It's like a crutch, in my opinion, okay? If I'm not itemizing my gear correctly and I'm trying to get everything out of amps, in my opinion, I'm not playing the game like it should be played, if that makes sense. And I'll kind of explain what I mean. Because what the amp dumps, let me explain that first, is while you're above 3 psi points, you gain an Empower. The Empower increases your strike through chance by 8%. Okay, so, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I like it. But here's the thing. You're not always above 3 psi points. So you're not going to see a lot of usage from this amp. And even if you did, you'd probably be way too much. You'd have way too much strike through at this point. And really, like I stated earlier, the 6% strike through I'm at right now, a little over 6%, I've only seen 2 deflects and maybe 70 minutes worth of DPSing. Well, around 60 probably, truly. So I don't need any more strike through. So I can put my points where. That's 4 points that I don't need to put in there. Follow through. Lending Assault Finisher grants some power, which increases our primary stat, Assault Power, by 10.5% for 5 seconds. Again, there's no reason why I find myself ever taking this handball. It's just too damn good. Next, the power. Letting a critical hit grants some power, which increases your Moxie by 16% for 3 seconds. Again, this is the reason critical hit is, in the secondary stats at least, second. Because the more critical hits you have, and the more crits you get, the more Moxie increase you'll see out of this, which in turn increases your overall damage. Okay. So again, I don't. These 3 amps, absolute must, in my opinion, if you're DPSing with a ESPER. This one right here, Wreckful, landing a 5 side point assault finisher, grants an empower, which increases your critical hit severity by 18% for 5 seconds. It's nice. Critical hit severity basically means that when I do crit, I crit harder. So, for example, if I critical hitted and the base of it was 2,000, if would be 18% more of that. So I don't have a calculator in front of me. I'm just going to guess and say that would be about 275, maybe a little more than that actually, probably about 300 more damage that I'd be doing. So it's a marginal increase, but it is an increase nonetheless. So I go ahead and take it. The next amp I took Spectral Swarm, obviously because I'm using it on my bar over here, and I have to have that amp to put it on my bar. Okay, so that's 2 points there. Figment, I did a lot of testing, and many other people have, and this is overall, like, it's not a huge increase to your DPS, but it's a pretty good increase. The reason I take it too is because with the Spellweaver rune set, it has more chances to proc because it's a dot, right? On top of a finisher dot that I have here, on top of you know, a dot I have here. You know what I mean? So it's pretty nice, and there's a pretty good chance that you'll see this proc and see it show up in your logs a lot, and see it show up as doing a little bit more DPS, you know, which as an Esper right now, any DPS increase you can get, take it, you know. Again, quick response. I just don't know how useful this is, really. I'm not hurting to have my cooldowns reduced any more than they are, and I get it like a flat cooldown reduction anyway. So I'm going to save my 6 points and put them elsewhere. Amp points. So right now I don't have this. Don't see myself getting it in the future either. It just doesn't seem like it would be too useful. Next, I took the critical hit for obvious reasons. That's 6% flat increase to my critical hit. So why not? Critical hit severity, went ahead and took it. It's pretty nice to have it. I've seen a couple builds take it out and focus more on the cooldowns and whatnot. Maybe even throw in dash region or even shield capacity to increase my mitigation a little bit, since I do have tissue paper for armor. But that's what I'm rolling with right now. That's about a 12% increase to my critical hit severity. Next I take Lifesteal. Some of you guys might be saying, well, why the fuck did you take that? No, the reason I took that is the humanity. Okay? Landing a finisher on a foe below 30% health deals an additional 1205 magic damage. So this means basically with this spec or this build that landing my telekinetic storm finisher on a target that's below 30% health, it's ticking, right? Right now it's ticking for about, it says 1631 damage per tick, and it's going to tick 7 times. Plus the additional magic damage that this amp gives me is 1205. So 1631 plus 1205 is what? 38. Wow, I can't do math right now. $38, $36 or something like that. Anyway, but see, that's multiplied by 7, okay? Assuming it ticks for the whole amount. Um, so basically what you have is more damage. And like I stated earlier, if you can get more damage, do it. Uh, because we're on the low end a lot of times on a lot of fights. When we're receiving buffs in the near future. Um, I'm, how good a buffs, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to speculate on it right now. But that's basically covers the amps that I'm running right now. Now, obviously, if I got more, I'm going to plug some more into cooldowns, maybe max shield capacity, maybe dash region. We'll see. Uh, Still need to get there first, and there's a long ways off before I have enough Elder Gems to buy those amp upgrades. Okay. Alright, so we've covered a lot of information, and so I'm going to talk about a priority because right now I have somewhat low of a ping, but that's subject to change soon with my crappy internet. Uh, so I'm going to talk about like openers that I typically run, and that is that I still pop 2 concentrated blades pre-pull while the tank is running in. I pop my Spectral Swarm. That puts me at 3 side points. And then I pop 2 bolster charges, which puts me at 5 side points. I immediately do a telekinetic storm. And then from that point, I do my innate, which is Spectral Form, which gives me an absorb, an interrupt armor, 1 side point every 1 second for 5 seconds. So basically a full 5 points for the duration. So I pop it, I do telekinetic strike. By this time, my Spectral Swarm almost should be up. If it isn't, I continue to TS Storm, or telekinetic strike rather, until I get to 5 side points and I get off another telekinetic storm. Okay, and then from there the priority shifts to, okay, 5 point telekinetic storm, side point. If I don't have that, I use my concentrated blades, I use my bolster to build those side points. And I typically use it after I've used Spectral Swarm, like during that global cooldown I was talking about that occurs. I usually like to pop my concentrated blades and support bolster, okay, to generate more side points. And again, I lost connection. What the fuck is going on? Sorry guys, this normally doesn't happen. Been having a lot of problems with my connection though. Alright, so sorry about that, we're back. So again, the things you want to do is you always want to have a 5 point finisher, okay? That is regardless of whether you ran Mind Burst or you run Telekinetic Storm. I don't care which one you run, but that is always first and foremost top priority to get those off. If I'm not there, I am constantly trying to build my side points by Telekinetic Strike spam. If I have to use Spectral Swarm directly after, since I can't cast anything because of the global cooldown, I'm looking at Concentrated Blades or I'm looking at Bolster to boost it, okay? You kind of want to always use your innate sort of proactively, so that you're getting the fastest 5 side point finishers off as quickly as possible in a short amount of time as you can. You know what I mean? To increase your DPS. Okay, and that's kind of how it goes right now. So basically, that covers the build 1 I was wanting to talk about. I think I'm gonna have to do build 2 in a WS format, WS base format, simply because I don't have enough action sets right now to build a second one up. Okay, but I will tell you this: that the second build will have Mind Burst in it, and it'll have a totally different setup for the amps. And the reasoning for that, I'll explain then. But there's a lot of exciting things in conclusion to this video. There's a lot of exciting things coming up with the ESPER. They have a patch coming soon that's going to make Telekinetic Strike mobile. They're buffing a lot of different things. They're buffing Concentrated Blade. They're buffing Haunt a little bit. Actually, Haunt is going to be a bit stronger on paper than Telekinetic Strike will be. So, a lot of cool. There's a couple other things too that they're doing that a lot of people are complaining about. They're going to have like a small global cooldown on Concentrated Blades, as well as Bolster. So you can't like spam them as much, which kind of sucks. But it's not that much. We're talking like 0.25 seconds, I think is what it was. They're changing Psychic Frenzy's cooldown in between the blades, so may or may not be better now than it was. I'm thinking it would be a little bit better than it is currently right now when that patch drops. So that's some cool things. I'm sure I'm missing some things. Reap still sucks. Don't ever use it. Blade Stance, I think they did changes to, but I still don't think it's going to be useful because of the channel time and whatever. It's kind of crap. Okay, so anyway, I think that basically covers what I wanted to talk about, guys. And we got through it in less than an hour, which is amazing. So questions, comments, concerns, please let me know if I can make these videos a little bit better. Like I said, I'm going to be having sort of a editing videos kind of workshop for myself, do some research on it. To make these videos a little bit more interactive and better for you guys. Obviously, if I had better internet, I could do a lot more parsing and, maybe record dungeon runs and do commentaries. But right now, that's just not feasible for me. And, I could do like guides on the forums, and I could do guides, on Reddit and whatnot. But really and truly, videos to me are a bit more, people learn different ways, obviously, but videos are a little bit more interactive for the user, okay? So this is the preferred method I would rather use than writing a guide, so to speak, okay? Again, this is my house. That's a plushie doing it with this other plushie. This dude right here is just, along for the ride. He's having a blast. It's my festival kit, rocket ship, garden that needs to be repaired. I'm not doing it. Oh crap! I got trees, guys. I gotta go. Gotta go soon. Gotta cut down some trees, make some moolah. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, thank you for sticking with me. If you are a Twitch user and you want to be alerted to when my next videos come out, follow me on Twitch. My name is there is Big Dog LB. It's just the name I picked. Don't ask. Second, if you are a YouTube user, hit that like or dislike button, and if you disliked it or liked it, give me a comment. Give me some feedback, guys. These are videos that I'm making for the community of WildStar as a whole. So I'd like to make them better and more informative and more interactive for you guys. So anything I can do better, within, reason. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get better internet without a better job, kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Uh, but yeah. This is Luke from Dark Apoc, my new guild that I just joined. Signing off. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next time. We'll break down another build probably tomorrow at this point because it's getting kind of late here, and I still want to play some Wildstar. Okay. Anyway, peace out, guys. Y'all have a good night.